What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to several of my subscribers for contributing to the channel. I want to give a shout out to Aram for his contribution to the channel. I want to give a shout out to Legendary Tony. I saw your video request. Okay, I can work on that one. It's going to be a little while, but I can have that done for you. I also want to give a shout out to Larry for his contribution to the channel and Elijah. And I remember your video request. I'm going to try to have that done by Sunday. That'd probably be an apropos date, for that video. But I did see your video request. And anybody that has a request, I'm saying, I do video requests. Sometimes it might take me longer because I can get a substantial amount of requests. But, I'm saying, I will get it done. To those who contribute out of love for the channel, if you choose to, you can do so. The links provided in the description box below. I also want to thank the people that have signed to the Patreon. I had a couple of new signees today. Thank you so much. Right now, I'm at 100 and, I think 54 patrons. So this is about the most I've ever had signed to the Patreon. So I want to thank you guys for your support. I have been trying to be more active. I've uploaded 4 videos in the last 24 hours on Patreon. I'm going to try to, put out more and more content, especially on the Patreon. All right, so there's only $2 per month. So let me get into this video right here, okay? I never talked about this moment in particular, I don't think, for a video. I might have mentioned it, but never talked about it. And that is the infamous fight between Dr. J and Larry Bird. Now, contrary to Charles Barkley's recollection, it wasn't a preseason game, but it was early in the regular season. It was November of 1984, and it was very, very early into the season. And just to kind of paint a picture of what was going on at the time, everybody's very aware of the historical rivalry between the Lakers and the Boston Celtics. But in the Eastern Conference, there has always been a rivalry between, it's not as intense as it once was, but it was always a rivalry between the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. Okay, that goes all the way back to, quite honestly, when Wilt Chamberlain was playing with the Warriors, but they were located in Philadelphia. So it goes back to then. It goes back to when Wilt was playing with the Sixers, when they relocated to Philly, the team that used to be the Syracuse Nationals relocated to Philly and became the Philadelphia 76ers. Wilt eventually played with that team, and even going throughout the 70s and into the 80s. All right, so that rivalry was already in place. In fact, the year before, the 83-84 season, there had been 3 different fights that had broken out between those two teams during the year when they played. Now, Larry Bird and Julius Erving were 2 of the 3 best players in the NBA at that time. I want to say Kareem, but Kareem was kind of sliding a little bit, but, he was still amongst the top, handful of players. At that time, I would say the best players in the NBA were probably Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Julius Erving, Moses Malone, Adrian Dantley, Alex English. But the top 3, I'll just say for argument purposes, were Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Julius Erving. Okay? From a historical standpoint. They were definitely the 2 top forwards. But there was this perception that Julius was sort of falling off. Okay? Now, he won a ring during the 82-83 season. And that year they went 65-17, talking about the Philadelphia 76ers. That's when they acquired Moses Malone. They had a dominant campaign in the postseason where they went 12-1. There was one less round back then. I think it was the very next year that they added a semis round to the playoffs. But in '83, '84, they were disappointing. They went, I think they went 56-26, but they had to deal with a lot of injuries that year, and disappointingly, they lost in the first round to the then New Jersey Nets. Plus, Julius Erving at this time was now 34 years old, which is starting to become the twilight of a superstar's career. Bird at this time was 27, about to turn 28, I believe. So he was in the prime of his career. And the Boston Celtics were the defending champions, having won the title in 7 games in the '84 finals against the Lakers. So Bird's at the top of the NBA landscape. Okay. He's the reigning MVP from the '83-'84 season. In fact, he will win 2 more MVPs in '84, '85, and then '85, '86. Of course, that's the 67-win Boston Celtics team that many people consider the greatest team of all time, whoever depends what you're talking about. So early into this season, I think Boston was 4-0. Philly was 5-0. Both of these teams were determined to be at the top of the at least the Eastern Conference hierarchy. Okay, they were the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference at the time. This is before Detroit became elite. Milwaukee was a really good team, but they couldn't quite get to that level at that time. Okay, during the game, Bird is trash talking. Okay, he's trash talking, and his game is matching it. Okay, he's to be quite honest, he's killing Julius Erving. He's killing him. Erving has a very quiet game. Bird is lighting up the Philadelphia 76ers, and he's talking trash. Even by his standards, he's doing it in an excessive amount. Okay. Um, Fast forward to, I think it was the fourth quarter, early in the fourth quarter when this happened. Bird has 42 points. Julius Erving has 6. And apparently, however, it wasn't Bird's trash talk, at least according to Julius Erving, that led to the fracas. It was the refs. Bird had, I think, had gotten some calls that he thought were unfair or wrong or whatever, but there was an offensive foul called on Larry Bird during the game that he thought was bullshit. Okay. And he was fuming about it. Okay. And I guess going on defense, he was fuming about it. And I guess Bird was sort of looking at the sidelines in the direction of the ref. Julius Erving maintains that he noticed that Bird was getting antsy and that he thought Bird was going to perhaps like get into a physical altercation with the ref. I guess he was talking and talking and talking. Erving said that he meant to extend his arm to push Bird away, but inadvertently he hit Bird in the neck. And Bird was already seething. So I guess he's trying to insinuate that Bird took that as, you know, like fuck you or whatever, right? So Dave started going at it. There's of course that famous picture that appears to have Charles Barkley and another teammate looking like they're holding Larry Bird back so Dr. J could punch him. Barkley says that he was actually trying to break the fight up, and that the NBA unfairly, fined him for that, and that to this day he thinks that the NBA owes him money. I don't know. I don't know. The story I've always heard growing up was that Dr. J was getting hot on the collar from all the trash talk that Bird was issuing. It wasn't until 2 years ago in an interview where Julius Erving said that no, it was the ref's fault for, causing that type of atmosphere. I don't know. I do know this. That picture, that incident, sort of highlighted one aspect of sports that people don't like to talk about, and that is the racial tension that obviously goes on in our country, even to this day. Okay? You can show a picture to people, and whatever racial prism they look at it, they can have, you can present the same evidence, um, present the same story, and white people might look at it in a certain way, and black people look at it another way. There's a reason why 80% of white people thought OJ was guilty, and 75% of black people thought OJ was innocent, even when presented with the same evidence. It's a reason why a majority of white Americans thought George Zimmerman was in the right for what he did, and the overwhelming majority of black Americans thought that he committed an egregious crime that he should be put in prison for. Because what I'm getting at is that there's a certain racial element involved in that fight that has drawn interest to it. I wonder if it would be the same sort of interest if it was Julius Erving versus, say, Adrian Dantley. You feel me? There's something about that incident that, and I remember just from reading comments on YouTube about this years ago when they had this up a lot. This fight, people talking about, oh, Julius Erving supposed to be this class act, but here he's acting like a thug. And that word, I rarely hear that word attributed to white people, you know. So, and Julius Erving is anything but a thug. But in reality, Julius Erving and Larry Bird were very cordial to each other, if not friends, So there was no bad blood between the two at that time. And if anything, their respect for each other has grown. They have maintained that they will never, ever autograph any of these photos. They have a pact where if any fan comes to them with that photograph, they will never ever sign it for monetary gain or just autographic period. They think that it represents something ugly, um, more sinister than just a photograph, and that's why I mentioned that racial aspect to it. But tell me what you guys think.